Thank you. All right, welcome to the December 2nd meeting of Community Board 11's Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee. My name is Jessica Elliott and I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is called to order at 6:32 p.m. Tonight we're joined by District Manager Angel Muscane, the staff liaison to our committee. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. CB11 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, you can click the chat icon and relay your difficulty to the staff. Chat function should not be used for CB11 business or questions about the agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. Please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. Members of the public, if you have a question or comment about the subjects on the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait to be recognized. We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, you can unmute yourselves and answer present when your name is called.
Diane Collier. Jessica Elliott.
Present.
David Giordano.
Present.
Ivy Hume. Alonzo Johnson.
Present.
Connie Lee.
Present.
Malik McCullough.
Present.
Shirley Benya. Debbie Quinones.
Present.
Natasha Rodriguez.
Present.
Russell Schuler.
Present.
Michelle Wilcher Clement.
Present.
Jordan Wright. You have quorum.
Thank you, Angel. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and was posted online. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as members. If you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The meeting minutes from our last meeting were distributed to committee members ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Committee members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the last full board meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB11 website. The meeting minutes of tonight's meeting are being taken by myself. And we will move on to announcements. So we'll start with our city agencies. Is Department of Parks and Recreation on?
Yes, we are.
Hey. Thank you for joining. Are you all giving a quick presentation on the recreation centers today?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. All right. Do you need to share your screen at all?
No, I can just speak.
Okay, great. Feel free.
Okay, my name is Richard Martinez. I am the center manager for the Thomas Jefferson Recreation Center on 112th Street and First Avenue here in District 11. And this is my first time presenting in front of Community Board 11. I have worked here in the past back in 2000, so I'm kind of coming back as a center manager. And we have a lot of new events that we have going on in the recreation center for the community. We are now offering free recreation center memberships to all New Yorkers from now until December 31st. The only thing that you would need to present in order to obtain a free recreation center membership is, of course, a vaccination card, proof of vaccination, and a valid ID. And then you would be able to sign up for a membership. We have an indoor gymnasium. We have a fitness gym, which we have free exercise classes. We have instructors here that can help you out with the equipment. We have game tables in our lobby, pool tables, and ping pong tables. And we have a ton of exercise classes and just a ton of programs going on here. So it's all free for the community and the public. I also would like to mention, I'm sorry, that we have 2 events going on right now at the center. We have a Stay Warm Clothes Drive, which we are working with Union Settlement. We are planning on donating warm, unused, brand new clothing to Union Settlement so we can have it distributed to the community for the less fortunate. And we also have an event on December 15th. We will be having the Muppets Christmas Carol movie presented here in the Recreation Center, which is open to the entire public.
Classic.
Yeah, that'll be at 6 p.m. on December 15th. And I think that's all I have. If anyone has questions.
Great. And what, the movie night is at which recreation center?
At Thomas Jefferson,
Okay.
112th Street first.
Thank you. On December 5th or 15th at 6 p.m. you said.
Yes. Matter of fact, wait, let me double check the time. Double check the time real quick. The time, it's 7 p.m. actually. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. is the movie, December 15th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for parks and specifically on recreation centers at this time? I guess I'll ask a quick question. If you were to take advantage of the free membership through the end of this year, would that apply in any way to next year, or is it just through this year?
Well, the free membership is just for this year. It's up until December 31st. The membership is, it's granted for 1 full year access to any recreation facility within the 5 boroughs. So if you could come into Thomas Jefferson and sign up for a recreation center, you will be able to use that card at any site. And we have 35 locations across the city.
Okay, so if you get a membership by the end of this year, then you have a membership for 1 year for free?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Got it.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Michelle, do you have a question? All
That
right.
was my question, because it kept being wavy of what it was, the time frame. Thank you, though.
Thank you. And do you have any information on any of the other recreation centers? I know Helen Fritz is being renovated.
Yes, currently right now, Pelham Fritz is scheduled to be completed by May 2022. Construction is on schedule currently. What's being done, they are replacing the entire new storefront with new glass, brand new roll down gates, and a brand new vestibule. New signage out in the front, and retaining walls and steps in the front of the building will also be repaired. The building is currently closed. The lobby is receiving work, and it's the center point between the 2 wings of the building. So that's why right now the building is closed to the public.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about recreation centers? Go ahead, Michelle.
I'm sorry, did you just say that the building is closed? If the building is closed, where would the movie be done?
Oh, the movie is being done at the Thomas Jefferson Recreation Center. This question was for Fritz.
Okay, sorry about that then. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, no problem.
All right. Sorry, my internet connection's a little unstable, so I'm gonna leave my video off for now. But thank you so much, Richard, for the update. And I know we talk a lot about parks, but not enough about the recreation center. So we really appreciate you coming in today to give us a little bit more information. And we hope that parks can, continue to give us regular updates on the recreation centers, and that we can advocate for our community to put them to use.
Thank you very much. I plan on being here every month now.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Is David from Parks here? David Williams? Angel, did you get a chance to send him the call-in information? I'm not. Hey, Angel. I think we lost Angel for a second, or maybe you all lost me. I can't tell.
We
See
hear you,
Angel's-
Jessica.
Okay, I see Angel's connecting to audio. Is anyone else from Parks here today to give us updates on the actual parks? Okay. All right, well, we'll move on. Are there any other city agencies here with us today that would like to give an informational update? Okay, we'll move on to Parks advocacy groups. I see we have Randall's Island Park Alliance.
Hi, Jessica,
David.
it's Dave. Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, yeah, we have a few people on today. Obviously, we're going to be presenting a little later on. Just want to tell you, Ann Wilson, our Senior Director of Planning, is here, who will be kind of leading the presentation later on. Deb Marr, the President of RIPA, is here. And I did want to introduce Peter Hunter, who you probably remember Tom Harnish, who was our Chief Director of Operations for RIPA. He's no longer with us, but Peter has now stepped in to his role. So you'll be seeing him as well at these meetings in the future. So I just wanted to introduce him. He may not be on a panelist, but he's online with this. So I wanted to take that chance to introduce him as well. I don't have a ton of stuff. Well, obviously, we're going to have a lot more at the presentation. I did want to, we're kind of in fall, winterization mode in the park. We're doing a lot of leaf cleanup. There are a couple of dates that I just want people to be aware of in terms of like permits. So right now, ball field permits for renewals for spring are open. So if you had one previously, now's the time to go on and put your renewal in. Starting January 1st, they'll be open for new permits through the parks website for new spring permits. So if you hadn't had one and you want to get one, that would be after January 1st. Special event permits for people interested in barbecues or any sort of special event that opened the first Monday in November. So you can also go online and put in your applications for special event permits for the entire year for 2022. So those are really the things right now. We're getting a lot of permit requests in. We're kind of working through them for the spring. And like I said, really working on our winterization. We're getting our equipment ready for the snowfall that last year we got hit pretty hard. So we're getting ready for that. So that's kind of all. And like I said, Ann, and we'll give you some more updates on some bigger projects going on in the park a little later on. So if anyone has any questions for Randall's, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions for Randall's Island Park Alliance? I do have one question, just to
Sure.
follow up on the noise complaints from
Yep.
last month. I just wanted to know what the progress was on that. And I know we also spoke to public safety and transportation, and they were aware of it. So
Yeah, so as is what tends to happen, the temperature drops, those groups tend to no longer be there. I have not gotten any complaints this month since our last meeting about them. I anticipate that's probably going to be the case. In terms of what we're going to do, we actually are hoping to like meet with NYPD to see about what can be done in terms of an enforcement side of it. We are looking at some options in terms of making it a little more challenging for those groups to gather. We've talked internally about, we have kind of these boulders that we place to keep vehicles off lawns, off areas like that. If there might be something we could do with those, but we're going to spend this off season trying to see what we can do, because it has been a standing issue for us, and really want to work with NYPD and some of the other groups out at the park. Like we have other enforcement agencies as well who could maybe help, who are a little more present. So that's kind of where we are on that at the moment.
great. Let us know how we can help. And if you'd like to loop us in with any of the meetings you're having, not
Yeah,
us,
absolutely.
our committee specifically, but we can work with public
Yeah.
safety and
Yeah,
transportation.
I think as we said last time, it'd be great if we could kind of combine that, and we'd love to find a solution to this. It's really been a problem for us.
Thank you so much, David.
Yep.
Any other questions? Michelle, you still have your hand up. I'm not sure if it's an old hand.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I was curious to find out if any renovations are going to be done with the water fountains, the quality of the water from the water fountains. If you're a runner, that's the only thing that you really have a lot of the times. And I'm not speaking for myself. Is there going to be any renovations with these water fountains?
Nothing is planned at the moment in terms of renovations on the water fountains, no.
Or maybe just changing filters on them so that the quality of
yeah, I will look into, I'm not really sure how the filter system works on those water fountains. I'll look into that and see if there's something we can do about changing the filters, or if there's something going on. We do clean them every spring, you know, kind of the outside of them. We power wash them. We do, you know, just so they're more, you know, they get a little gunked up sometimes over the winter. But I can certainly look into see if there's anything sort of like filter system that can be switched out or anything of that nature. I'm not something I know that I'm aware of in the past that's been done. So let me look into that and find out. And I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, David.
Mhm.
Any other questions? I don't see any hands raised. Thank you so much. Oh, Michelle, you have your hand raised again.
I was going to lower it because I thought we had to lower these.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much, David.
All right, no problem.
I look forward to your presentation. Are there any other parks advocacy groups before we move on to CBOs? Connie Lee, do you have any updates from Marcus Garvey, Park Alliance?
The only thing I'll tell you is that the Alliance sponsored lighting of 5 live evergreen trees in Marcus Garvey Park. They're on 3 different sides of the park, so it's, you know, really quite special. There's trees lit all around the park. Definitely worth taking a walk to go see.
Great. And did the lighting problem get resolved with the, I believe you said the east side of the park was in darkness last month?
Yeah, it was resolved incredibly quickly, by the way.
Great. Excellent. We love to hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Connie Lee and Marcus Garvey, Park Alliance? Seeing no hands, one last call for any parks advocacy groups. All right, we'll move on to other community-based organizations. I know we have Sharon here from Civitas today. Do you have any updates for us?
Hi, Jessica. Thank you. I appreciate that. And also greetings to Angel and also Debbie. I just wanted to introduce myself as the executive director, new executive director for Civitas. And also I wanted to apologize. I believe at the last month's meeting, I had indicated that I would be able to attend an Environment, Open Space and Parks Committee meeting, and unfortunately, I was not able to do so. And I wanted to just apologize for that, and as well as offer Civitas as a resource. As an organization that has is celebrating its 40th anniversary of improving the quality of urban life for the Upper East Side, as well as El Barrio, East Harlem. I took a walk with Julie Menon and some other individuals on the Esplanade, and pointed out some areas of the Esplanade that really required significant attention. And specifically starting just below 96th Street to point out the difference between below 96th Street and above 96th Street regarding the condition of the Esplanade. And I will tell you that Julie Menon is going to be very, very much involved with the Esplanade, including making sure that it's accessibly available to people who are challenged either in reaching the Esplanade or navigating the Esplanade. With that, I want to make sure that everyone has my telephone number as well as my email address. It's area code 212-758-8634. And my, I'm sorry, I'm still getting used to my email addresses. Sharon at Civitas, that's CIVITASNYC.org. Although I am Civitas's new executive director, I've been on the board since 2010 of Civitas. And so I am familiar with issues in El Barrio, East Harlem, and also with the Upper East Side. Thank you very much for having me, Jessica. And again, greetings to the community board as well as to Debbie Quinones and Angel Miscane.
Thank you, Sharon. And Debbie, I see your hand raised. I know we skipped you from Harlem Art Park, so we'll go back to you. I'm so sorry. I just wanted Sharon to let you know that on our new business at the meeting today, we're going to start the discussion about exploring a joint resolution between community boards to better understand the funding that's been allocated to the East River Esplanade and how it's going to be utilized and what our engagement process is going to look like. So that's in the very beginning stages, and we plan to look at the thank you letter that the East Harlem Waterfront Coalition put together to sort of frame out that resolution. But it's in its early stages, and I just wanted to let you know and to let you know that we're hope to continue to work together on all the action going on at the Esplanade.
100%.
Are there any questions for Sharon at Civitas? All right, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations to you on your role again and on Civitas's anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll go back to Debbie Quinones and the Harlem Art Park. So sorry, Debbie, the worst.
Oh, good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie Quinones. I'm with the Friends of Art Park Alliance, and I just like to, before I give a quick update, I'd like to welcome Sharon to Civitas in her new role. Civitas is near and dear to me. I was on the board for many, many years, a very long time ago. And it's just happy to see that you guys are still around and doing the work that's so important to the community. So with the Friends of Art Park, some updates is that we have a bulletin board. Yay! We have a bulletin board, but we don't have the keys. Parks put it up for us. We purchased it with a grant that we received from Parks Department, and they put it up, but I need the keys. So if somebody can get the keys to me, I would appreciate it. We still have issues with the cobblestones that are being displaced and not fixed. And what's happening is that more and more people are starting to pick out the cobblestones. And in fact, somebody created some kind of art piece in the middle of the park that there's the cobblestones are now on a stick with some writing and papers on it. So if folks can get on that, I would appreciate it. We just want the park to look great. I want to thank Connie for giving me some graffiti wipes because we had an issue with some graffiti on the glass fountain in the back. So we were able to remove that. But there is more spray paint on the cobblestones in the back. So I don't know how we could address that, but I hope that something gets done. We're up to our last event for our season. This Saturday, we're having our tree installation. We have an artificial tree with some solar lights that we got from contributions that people gave us in the community. We were able to buy this tree, and so we're going to be putting that up. It's actually up already, but we're going to have the tree installation with a parranda, like Christmas music. And we're having our second annual ugly sweater contest. And I wanted to extend an invitation to the members of this committee to come and join us and bring your ugly sweater. Next year, we may expand it to have an ugly sweater, pretty sweater, and pet sweaters contest as well. So that's Saturday on December 4th at 4 o'clock is the contest. So I hope that folks will pass by and kind of kick off the holiday spirit. And we just need those cobblestones to be fixed because people are starting to pick them out more and more. We still have some issues with some park regulars, but the Department of Health passes by, the Department of Homeless Services kind of passes by. The other thing that's kind of got me very curious is that the park is getting closed earlier and earlier on the weekends. Like last weekend, it was closed at 3 o'clock. The weekend before it was closed by 3:30. And, that's an issue for me because I know that the sign says one thing, the Parks Department says another thing. And the fact is that if we want to increase utilization of this park, which is our mission, we have to make it available to the community. And to close it at 3 o'clock on a Saturday is really unacceptable. So that's something that's of concern to us. So this is our last event for the season, and we're gonna go kind of on. We've planted about 200 tulips and crocus in a circular design that was suggested by the artist Jorge Luis Rodriguez. So the trees are gonna have rings around them of crocus and daffodils to connect with the universe and frequency and stuff like that. Because I was going straight and he was like, no. So we're hoping that something comes up and we'll see what happens. And I just want to thank everybody for their support. Please pass by. We also have the installation by Cappuccino Cart, Plastic Fantastic, which is an installation of pictures of plastic bags that have been collected over a year and transferred to acrylic tiles to raise awareness about the overuse of plastic. So we're working on our website. And if anyone wants to get in contact with me, my email is FAP Alliance 120 at Gmail. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Debbie. And you said the ugly sweater contest is this Saturday, December 4th at what time?
At 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Thank you. Okay. Any questions for Debbie and the art park? And I'm not sure if the telephone number beginning 347 is David from Parks.
It probably is him. Last time I talked to him, he said that he had the same issue. He called in and wasn't able to kind of.
Yeah, David, press *9 and you can unmute.
Hello, I'm here. You hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, great. It worked. Okay, I'm in. This is Dave Williams. How you doing?
Okay, good. How are you?
Okay, so I'm listening. I hear the complaint about Harlem Art. The keys, yeah, that's concerning too. The keys for the bulletin board, I will track that down. The installers probably still have it with them, so I could get in touch with Borough Crews. As far as the missing stones, yes, I have a couple of individuals that we can work on that now. We just need to pick up some cement because the way we want to do it, we want to do it so it doesn't come out, get loose again. And in regards to the park closing at 3:30, I agree that is unacceptable. I don't understand that. I will get down to the bottom of that. The park should be at least closing by 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the
So
sign
I'll-
says,
I'll-
yeah, the sign says 7 or 8, but I understand the change in the season. But
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And if you're gonna fix the stones, please don't use black. You know, because,
No.
okay,
No, we're gonna actually, with the same stones that you have, you're saying you don't want asphalt, right? You want the same stones returned.
yeah, but you know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, because what's been happening is that they've been tarring it up. So there's getting like black spots on
I
the
know what you're
floor.
saying. I know what you're saying. No, we have some material that we use to go around the stones. I understand what you're saying.
Great, I appreciate
And
it.
the graffiti, I will check that out myself. I haven't, I wasn't aware of the graffiti, so I would definitely look into that as well. A few other things. I don't know if you guys had tried to reach out to me before I got through, but I do want to make some updates in regards to, so basically most throughout the district, most of our parks and playgrounds, we've been like busy just with the leaf removal, just leaves. We're probably using hundreds of bags a day just with leaf removal alone. And I have a drug needle removal update. The numbers are actually going down, I guess, because less people are in the parks. But we have, for the numbers I have for today, that Marcus Garvey, we had 28 needle removals.
Having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, David.
How about now?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, at drug needles removal at Marcus Garvey Park, we had about 28 removed today. At McNair, we only removed 3 drug needles today. And at Harlem Art, we removed 8 drug needles today. Also, as you guys are all aware, we have the Christmas tree lighting at Marcus Garvey Park on the 8th of December. December 9th, we have a homeless encampment removal at Harlem Art Park with the assistance of the Parks Enforcement, and we're gonna, they're the big help with helping us get that area cleaned out. This is gonna be the first event of this month. I don't know if they're gonna help me out towards the end, but that's a big help. So we're gonna help clean that area up, and also. The Parks Enforcement, they started already, I think, on Monday, canvassing McNair Park for at least three. So they're going to be monitoring the activity starting at 9 a.m. and then they'll be coming out at least like 2 other times throughout the day to, I guess just to see, to make sure, as far as the drug use and homelessness. So they're going to be aware, they're going to be monitoring that more closely. This is a program that the Parks Enforcement told me about this week, so I was happy to hear that news as well. So I don't know if you guys have questions for me now or throughout the rest of the meeting, but I'm listening in.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions? Please raise your hand if you have any questions for Debbie with Harlem Art Park or David Williams at DPR. Go ahead, Malik.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Good.
I'm doing fine. I have more like of a comment, not necessarily it might be a question and a comment in the same breath. But I've like just read or I believe on the news it was channel 11 that they stated that in East Harlem there is a drug program where you can actually use the needles, or and I think it's like 3 different things. Is you could use the needles, you can use the needles, you can get off of drugs, and I forgot the last thing, but it's on 126th Street between Lexington and Park. Do any of the programs enforce that? So that's one of the things, and if so, that there's a program over there that I just recently read up on where we can enforce to basically try to push people to go to that program and to do it safely, so it'd be out of the park, out
The
of all
safe
of our
injection
parks.
site.
Yeah.
David, do you have any thoughts on that?
I've heard from the Parks Department perspective, we're not participating in that. But if any of the outreach in the groups, they want to share any information with the parks, we'll be glad to. I have some of my staff members, I will personally hand out that literature to some of the individuals. But yes, I've heard of it as well on the news.
Thank you, Malik. Debbie?
Thank you, David.
So I'm switching over from parks person to Department of Health person. And that's involved with also harm reduction and drug user health. So this is the first safe site for injection use. And you know, the thing about that is some people consider it controversial. Some people consider it a necessary thing to address, right? So this is the first time that they're doing it, and it probably does make sense, Malik, to maybe get some literature from that site to promote at the parks. You know, that would probably be something to consider, contacting them and then seeing if they have any literature for distribution. The issue with safe injection sites is that people feel that it chases away business, and you know, like right now it's a touch and go thing, but it's something that in the long run saves lives and ultimately helps people to get off drugs at some point. So I just want to put that out there for information.
Thank you, Debbie. Michelle, you had your hand up? I'm not sure if you.
I did, but Debbie just spoke about it so beautifully of what I wanted to say. I have nothing left to say.
Perfect. We're a good team. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, Debbie. All right. If anyone else is here from a city agency, park advocacy group, or a CBO and would like to give an informational update, please raise your hand before we move on. Seeing no hands, we'll move on to our presentation.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. This is Ann Wilson. I'm Senior Director of Planning for the Randalls Island Park Alliance. I guess at this point, I should be able to share my screen, I think. I'll give it a try. This is my first time doing this virtually, so fingers crossed. Can everybody see this?
Yes, it's not full screen though.
Yeah, you know what? Sorry, let me see. Hold on, let me,
And if you hit slideshow, I think it kind of pulls it up.
Not new slide.
sorry, where is slideshow?
On the
On the-
orange part?
The top, look at the top.
Oh, sorry, you know what? The guide is covering it. Now
I
I see.
hate that.
All right, play from start. Oh, that doesn't look good. Oh, here we go. Okay, now can everybody see? Just-
We might be, if you have two screens, we might be on the screen that it's not full screen on.
I'm sorry, this is the first time.
No,
I've-
it's okay. We understand.
Hold on, let me start this over. Okay, let me just start slideshow. Yeah, I think I'm figuring this out. Sorry, everybody.
Debbie, you're unmuted. Debbie,
Sorry,
you're on. It's okay.
sorry.
That's fine. I think
I think this might be the best.
that's
the
perfectly
best
fine.
way to do it without more practice. I apologize.
No worries.
Hi, Ann. This is Angel. I have the presentation too. Do you want me to share it for you?
You know, Angel, there are a few small tweaks, so
Okay.
I think it's probably best for me to stay with this. And I wanted to say again,
Yep.
thank you for all your help. And I would,
Okay.
I'll be sure to send this just slightly tweaked presentation to you all afterward, tomorrow or after this. So let me start. Here's a beautiful photo of Randall's Island. We wanted to come to you with a few, what we think of pretty exciting upcoming projects. They are largely projects that are in the very beginning stages. So they're just kind of hopeful projects that we are proposing and for which we are seeking support. In fact, we are seeking support for all of them. But the very first project, which is something that we have come to the community board with years ago, is the Nature Center. And so the Nature Center in particular, we do have support for the basic outline of the Nature Center. And we are now thinking about seeking additional support so that we can expand what we're capable of doing in the building. So I wanted to give you just a really short, I know some of you are familiar with the project, but I'll give a really quick summary of what the Nature Center intention is, because I know that in the years since 2019, which is the last time we came to you, a lot has happened and there's been turnover in the community board as well as, of course, on our staff as well. So the Expanded Nature Center is the Nature Center in concept actually is we are planning to take a building, an existing parks building in the very middle of the park that is currently used by our turf maintenance crew. It looks very appealing, but it's actually not open to the public. And we'd like to refurbish that building to host really all of our public programming. We came to you with this before. It would include our volunteer programs, our educational programs, all of our public programs. All of those could be hosted out of this very central building, but it needs renovation. We think it has real promise. We received, thanks in part to you, and here is the earlier letter of support from back in July of 2019, where you very graciously provided us addressed to our previous president before Deb, Amy Bowden, and CCing, thank you, our elected officials, many of whom also, maybe all of whom also provided letters of support as well for this center. So since in the years since, we have raised funds for the basic vision we had for really inviting central public programming hub that we're calling the Nature Center. It would also have public restrooms. It would be really a very open central facility. As we got further along, we started thinking that we might want to try to be a little bit more capacious. We might be able to raise some more support. It seemed like a really good project. We've had a lot of enthusiasm. And so we started thinking about maybe somewhat expanding what it is we could offer in terms of space and classroom space. One of the things we think is most wonderful. So the basic project was the existing facility, which you can see here is really the existing building, which is currently, as you can see, these are all outbuildings and storage containers and maintenance equipment. But the building as it is right next to a public bus stop, and the bike and ped path under the Hellgate Bridge trestle goes right by it. So and in terms of its location in the park, it's so central. So anybody going through the park is likely to pass by, and this is an opportunity to bring people in, have them, maybe they just stop to use the restroom, but we will have displays about everything that we offer and our programming, and we think it will give everyone an opportunity, a really central opportunity to learn more about what's possible at the park. And you might be just going to see your kid play soccer and you never knew that we had all of these public programs and environmental programming. So this, of the 3 projects, this is the only project currently for which we are requesting a letter of support from the community board, but we're just starting to think about this next proposal for the expansion. So there's a lot of time. I think we probably wouldn't need a letter until maybe April or May of the spring. And so we have a time to answer any questions you might have. There's a chance that we would have some further design on the expanded nature center that we could show you between now and then. But again, the purpose remains exactly the same as when we came to you in 2019, only we are getting a little bit more expansive about what we think we could probably offer on this otherwise really not the site that's otherwise not publicly used as yet. Jessica, should I just continue straight through all 3 projects and then take questions? Is that maybe the best way to go?
Yes, and then so the letter of support is just for the nature center, but you're presenting 2 other projects, and then well, yeah, we can follow up with questions.
Precisely, yes. So the second project that we are working on is the East River Recreation Area. And similarly, again, we're not asking for a letter of support for this right at the moment. There's actually a proposal that we do have out that's pending. But both this and the subsequent project, it was a big summer for proposals. So we were able to get a couple out, but they're already now in consideration. So at this time, we're not requesting a letter of support. We just want to come talk to you about them in this, again, pretty early phase of their development. So this is at base what RIPA has talked about, has saved for and considered for some time, is the base of this project, which is the resurfacing of the playing fields, the East River playing fields, 82, 83, 84, and 85, all of which are artificial turf fields, and they're simply in need of refurbishment. So we have a considerable investment set aside for that, and we took a look around at available funding sources and hoped that we could build on our anticipated investment to maybe bring some of the other amenities to the area that we've been dreaming of. Specifically, because once you have that kind of investment, as I'm sure you all know, that can count as a local match. So it's a good idea, we thought, to try to leverage what we've already got coming to try to bring some of these other components. Probably what would stand out the most right away would be a long-awaited comfort station right at the base of the 103rd Street footbridge to the left. And of course, like our other comfort stations, this wouldn't just be a restroom, but would also involve, offer information, a place to meet up with groups that are coming, and potentially, I would assume potentially food service as well. Although again, that we're early with that, and I would think that that's something we would go out to whoever is servicing the other comfort stations, but we're so early that I just can't quite speak to that, but that would be my assumption. We also brought in a concept of movable covered bleachers, which the locations that you'll see are theoretical. We sort of tried to think where we thought people might most enjoy them, but not only is that flexible, but they might even be not so hard to move for different purposes as needed. We feel like that will make it that'll add a nice amenity. That would add a nice amenity to our community that comes out. Those fields can get pretty hot in the summer. A little bit of seating and shade could go a long way. Then the East River Multimodal Connector, that is a bike ped route that has long been dreamt of, that would bring you from the waterfront pathway here, just north of the footbridge, along back of the fields and down through, and then connect up to both the main parking lot on the southern end, Lot J, and our new bike share dock at the Ward's Meadow Comfort Station, which is our existing comfort station. Some direction away, some distance away, but that is our very popular, most popular city bike station at the park. And then of course, this connects also to the footbridge. So really and then the bus stops that are nearby, which the public bus can bring you to the park. So we feel like this particular path really connects the dots between all the different ways that people might come here, whether from to this particular section of the park, whether it's the parking lot, the bike share, walking across the footbridge, or taking the bus and then finding your way over to the fields and facilities here. I'm going to show you a couple of more. This is a more scenic overview of what we're talking about with a new, many of you are familiar with the current orange comfort stations. There's a new one that we're hoping for here. And you can see the walkway bringing over to the big main lot. And also this would connect to the existing comfort station. And those are the 80s fields, very popular because they're, of course, right across the footbridge. I guess this is once again showing not only what we're imagining for some of these bleachers, but also some of the damage to the fields, which is necessitating our repair of the fields. Again, this is showing site desire lines, really. This is showing places where we don't currently have bicycle and pedestrian pathways, and where clearly, even though there's lovely pathway down along the water's edge, but sometimes people would prefer to cut across here, clearly. So you can see where people have done that and where it seems there's a desire to create additional access. This is a similar rendering of where we were imagining. You can see the space existing where we would imagine the comfort station being best located for maximum accessibility and usability by the public. This is the comfort stations as they all look. We've had this on file for some time. They're all pretty much following the same model from the original management restoration and development plan, which was approved and went through all the parks and community board and PDC approvals at the time. And finally, these are beautiful fields looking across to the community on the other side. Finally, and this is the most, this is the furthest out, I would say, in terms of it, both the planning stage we're at and the results in terms of both getting the funding in place and doing the massive design and planning that would have to happen. Both this and the previous project are actually, the grants we have out are actually through New York City Parks, with RIPA helping to facilitate. And this one in particular has come in partnership with the Natural Resource Group at New York City Parks, which I think is really in partnership with our staff, but it's a fairly complex endeavor. And I think that we're really grateful that they have taken this in hand within parks to think really carefully about how it could work. As many of you likely know, between 103rd Street and the Salt Marsh, as you head north from the 103rd Street footbridge, there's some considerable erosion. We're losing parts of the land from behind the seawall. Other parts have created really almost a crumbly natural edge. So what we'd like to do is multifold and somewhat ambitious, which is to repair the edge in many places where it really needs it. And then also to think about places where we might, and also restore, there's some damage to the bluestone pathway, especially the porous pathway that's closer to the water that is welcome, especially for people walking and running. It's good, better on the knees, I'm here to say. And then we'd like to create opportunities both for enhanced recreation and opportunities for a coastal classroom for our waterfront programs, and a way to make better use of some of the areas where it is possible to let the edge remain a more natural edge, foster it, think of ways that we could augment that natural edge to provide instructive sites, including good places to talk about the impact of climate change and sea level rise on the adjacent community, to learn a little bit about environmental justice issues and how they might be relevant to people living, just right across the river. So while some of this is straight up repair, we would like, and we're working with NRG to try to create something maybe a little bit more porous and responsive to sea level rise, where we can explore and provide both passive and active education. As you will see, if I can get my screen to work, these are in several different phases. So the Nature Center, as we had said, is really, we have a base budget. RIPA is contributing the full 400,000 here is for the design, and we manage that design. And then we have a grant from the New York State OPRHP EPF fund, which we are actually in this case also able to manage. It's very unusual, but in this case, it actually came to RIPA rather than parks. And then a borough president match, which went to parks. And those things will all work together to create something that is definitely workable as a nature center. But we do have this concept of maybe expanding what we might be able to accomplish. And so that additional budget is currently in development, and we're just sort of actively looking for sources. And this is where we have some time until April or May for you to think about, the community board to think about whether you would be willing to update the existing letter of support to support this. The East River Recreation Area is the 3.35 is our commitment. It comprises largely the rehabilitation of the fields. And then we have a pending request through New York City Parks to the National Park Service through their Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program, which we should hear about, I believe. I mean, it's federal funding, so things happen in past, but I believe we're supposed to get the answer to that in April. So if that all came together, that we anticipate project completion around 2025. So the Nature Center, we're much closer, 2024. East River Recreation Area, we've got, as you see, some things kind of mapped out, 2025, and then really the multi-use pathway and living shoreline recreation restoration is pending at, this is actually a typo, it's DOS, New York State Department of State, Local Waterfront Revitalization Program, that is pending, and we may actually hear fairly soon. And this is again through Parks, Natural Resources Group, and that is a much longer anticipated project completion because both the funding source and getting that moving, and then also the design will be fairly complex and long, but we're projecting completion 2027, possibly 2026, but I think recent experience suggests one should be conservative in putting these numbers together. We're really excited about these. We think they all bring amenities to, well, both maintenance and stewardship of the park that's just needed, but then adding in really visitor-friendly, access-related amenities that can build upon in our investment and the public investment in the park by bringing in additional dollars from the state and federal level. And I hope you all like them. And that's it. And I'll stop talking now and answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Anne. So you said that the grant application for the Nature Center is due in May?
The next round, from what I understand, opens around April or May. Yes, that's when it opens. So that gives us, even once that opens, it's usually a couple of months where we do all the long paperwork, and I can try to reach out again if for some reason we haven't gotten there at that point. There's usually a pretty good wiggle room there.
Great, thank you. I just have a couple questions, and then if anyone else has any questions from the board or the public, please go ahead and raise your hands now so that we know you have a question. And we'll come to you shortly. So I'm just curious, how many, if you happen to know, how many comfort stations are there currently existing on Randall's Island?
Sure. There are 3 of the orange comfort stations on this. I see Dave joining back in. There are 3 orange comfort stations on this model currently existing, one in Ward's Meadow, one at Sunken Meadow, and one up on the Bronx Shore. And then there is a refurbished older station, which is an old WPA era building up by the urban farm and the playground. So there are 3 orange stations and 1 older station, so 4.
There are also public restrooms at the stadium too.
Right, that's right.
Sorry, I'm just trying to type and talk at the same time. I'm just curious for the nature center. You mentioned that that's an existing sort of back of house space with what is the current use, and if it would be refurbished into a front of house building, where would those uses go?
The current use is our turf maintenance crew, and we are looking at building into a space where we currently have use of an outbuilding and some acreage, sort of a little more out of the way and further south.
And where exactly is that located?
How do I, I'm trying to think how what,
If you pull that map up, Ann, you can show it. It's kind of right behind the 50s fields, like to the south.
it's around.
Yeah, so Central Fields are kind of like on the other side of where Odyssey House and Help. It's in that area.
By the urban farm, sort of.
No, kind of on the other where Ann has her control. So literally,
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of like tucked in where Odyssey House is and some of those other buildings, Help USA. Or Help, I'm sorry, Clark Thomas and Odyssey House buildings, like on the in those facilities.
Thank you.
We have some existing outdoor compounds in that area right now that are fenced in, both for turf maintenance and for hort. And we have, we're using a building there. And so I think we feel like we could probably make something work in that area that not only would be workable, but is kind of more appropriately really tucked away, which the irony of the current location is that people actually try to visit the turf crew because it's actually really central and appealing. And in fact, though the turf crew is very nice, they actually don't really want people visiting with their machines. So this keeps them really central to the park and accessible, but not tempting and sort of out front.
Got it. Are there any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? So we have a letter of support. So I guess if anyone on the committee has any thoughts on, whether we feel like we can go ahead and support it now, or if we want to give it a month to think about it, or whatever you think. I would love to hear your opinions. Please raise your hands. Go ahead, Malik, Vice Chair of this committee.
Hello. I feel like that we should wait and talk about it and give it a month so that we can get back and, decide then. I don't feel, I believe we kind of talked about this before as far as rushing to just give a letter of support. And it's not to say that we won't, but give us time to discuss it as a committee. So I feel like we should put it on next month's agenda for us to have a conversation about it amongst the board, amongst this committee, and then we can move forward from there.
Thank you, Malik. Michelle?
I think it sounds really, really good. But she said that there really is no pressing need to get a letter of support at this time, so that we can really have time to mull it over and understand more of the. And she said that possibly that they would have more information about it within a month, so that we would get even more information and be able to form a better letter of support if need be with the further information that she would give.
Great, thank you, Michelle. So it sounds like consensus is that we will put it on our old business for next month and have a further conversation about it. But I think if there are any questions, Anne is here today. So please ask those questions now so that we don't get to next month and have a bunch of questions that no one can answer. Go ahead, David.
I would say that maybe we just ask them to come back as well then, so that if there are questions, because I think like Malik's saying, if we have time to process and we may not know the question we want to ask right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're glad to hear about bathrooms as one of the beginning things in it. And I agree with the vice chair that You know, let's discuss it next month. Let's process it, look at this stuff over, and then we'll come back with our own recommendations or, you know, questions about the project.
Perfect.
And I
Thank you,
think
Ian.
it's, as Wilshire just said, you know, they're not asking for it now, so let's not rush what don't need to be. Let's not give something support and then we find out later on there's something we really don't like, right?
Yep.
We
Thanks,
learn that.
David. All right, Anne, could you go back to the last slide quickly? I just have a general question about the process by which Randall's Island goes about applying for grants and what city agencies, I mean, obviously Parks is involved and the state is involved, but we're just curious as, we have a number of issues and across the river and could use funding like this as well. So just curious on, what your process has been and if you have any insight for us.
Sure. We have usually sort of based on the management, restoration and development plan, we have usually a number of needs sort of in the offing that we're worried about. And so as the RFPs for the various funding sources come out, we just read through them and think about what might be an appropriate fit. All of these funding sources are pretty specific to the needs that we are addressing. So for example, the local waterfront revitalization program looks really kindly on living shorelines. The National Park Service is looking for recreational improvements. And as I said, the Nature Center is in development, so we don't know who we'll find when we look. So if we find something that seems like it would be a good fit, and in most cases also, if we know that we have something that we can leverage as a match, something that we've already raised or already invested that we can submit as the local match, that's a plus and maybe even necessary in order to get the funding. Organizations really like to see that there's already some kind of commitment to the project or something related to the project. And then if we find something that seems to fit, we have a conversation with the New York City Parks Department and see how that fits within their priorities as well, and whether what we're doing, whether they're willing to sponsor it. And then we sort of work with, in this case, with the Natural Resources Group, although this is, I think, the first time that we work directly with them. Maybe way back when we did the salt marsh and freshwater wetlands in 2000, well, it was open in 2008, so the proposal was probably around 2004. I think we did work with Mart Larson, who wasn't in the same position she's in now, but she was in the Natural Resources Group. So in some cases, if it's environmental restoration, we'll work directly with them and just facilitate, get information, write up forms, and try to help make it possible to apply for this funding, because it's pretty laborious. And so parks wouldn't always maybe have the capacity to try to secure some of this locally, and then it wouldn't come down here, it would go somewhere else rather than to New York City. So that's, and in past we have, for some of the earlier projects, we also worked with New York City EDC to do some of the proposals, but that was more that was more during some of the work being done on the infrastructure and the fields of the park, which was managed by EDC in past years, and then to try to, again, use some of that funding that the city was investing in, say, fields development, to leverage the opportunity to make sure that there was a pathway along the waterfront. So you could use the fact that you were building a field you could use that as match and your proposal to one of these agencies. And we've applied over, it's been 20 years. So over DOT, we've applied to DOS, OPRHP, but all of them require the local match. So if you can present that, so it's a jigsaw puzzle all the time. And as you see, it's out over many years. So there might be one project that manages to come to fruition by 2024, maybe another the next year, and then a couple of years later, another one. So it's very,
It's a long-term vision.
the long-term vision. I mean, I've had people say, oh, you get so much done in only 5 years. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really a long time from
Yeah.
the conception to the completion. It's years and years for any project, including these.
We'll have to learn from you. I know this is
Happy to help. Always.
a little off topic, but you know, we're happy to always be working with Randall's Island, and I think there's some great projects here and otherwise, and we've been I think our relationship has been really a great one, and I think that for example, we've had some community groups like Friends of the East River Esplanade make us as a community board aware of certain grants that can help us to further you know, environmental justice, and as you know, we have no comfort stations on the Esplanade, and how to begin to, because there's so many grants out there, and I think at this moment in time, our community is the, you know, prime example of a great, you know, area for these resources to come to. So if you know, when we only find out about these grants by chance, so it would be great, you know, if you could share any grants you see that, you know, REPA might not be able to use, or that might fit the needs of East Harlem in terms of resilience or heat and, you know, trash, all sorts of things. So, and we hope, you know, Parks, if you're listening right now, that you can also help us to advocate for our neighborhood and to present these grant opportunities so that we can start to apply to more of those grants, because otherwise we're missing our opportunity here, and we're not grant experts, and you know, I think Parks really helped us out in applying for the grant that Friends of East River Esplanade let us know about recently, and that was really great, and we hope we can get it, but we know there are hundreds more out there, and we just want to make that plug. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us on that.
Absolutely. Is there, I will absolutely keep my eye out. I mean, I tend to have a parks related filter, but I know that you're right. I mean, it's a really important time, and there's more out there, I think, than I can comprehend either, but I'll try to see what's out there. And if I find something like that, Jessica, who would be the best person for me to reach out to at CB11 to say this might be something we can work on?
I think Angel, who's on the call, our district manager, and our current chair, Nilsa, and our future chair, Xavier Santiago. But Angel can connect you with both of them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Malik, you had a question?
I didn't have a question. Well, yeah, it was a question. To that point, to the point that you made, I wanted to know, Ann, do y'all have a certain committee that goes after different grants?
I'm trying to think about that. We have an access task force of our board that helps us think about specifically access related improvements. And they help us think through them and sort of prioritize. But again, I would say to our joy, I guess, these really have followed the 1999 and then refurbished 2007 management, restoration, and development plan that RIPA developed with parks way back in 2007. And so it's more a question of deciding, you know, we knew we were going to try someday to have a comfort station by the 103rd Street footbridge. Is this what we want to try for, or should we try for a different component? What seems most urgent at the moment? But I would say we're actually, yeah, I don't know if Deb, if you want to take this, our president is on too. I mean, we're pretty streamlined. We have a, you want to answer, Deb? Do we have a committee that makes it?
We have a very small administrative group, and really, like, Anne should get a lot of kudos, and I think you probably can tell just from listening to her how thoughtful she is for working on this for over, she's right now the longest tenured person in our organization for over 20 years. And so with Anne's many years of help and thoughtfulness, as well as Dave and myself and a few others, we really work on these projects together with the help of our board and closely talking to NYC Parks. We have a very streamlined, small administrative, and we put more resources on boots on the ground. So you're kind of looking at us. But always happy to help. I will second that, like what Anne said. And if we see something that could be useful, that maybe particularly wouldn't necessarily apply to us, but could help, we're definitely happy to do that. And we'll now keep that in our minds.
Thank you so much. Great. If there are any other questions, please raise your hands. Otherwise, I see Ray. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I wondered if the committee should consider the question of who would actually use the renovated fields in the recreation area, what sports or activities, and whether there are any proscribed rules of engagement about using it.
Sorry, we're breaking up just a little bit. I'm not sure if it was just me, but you were saying that the community board should assess the community's engagement of the planned field renovations.
Just the question of who would actually use it, what sports or activities, and what if there are any proscribed rules of engagement for using them. So, it's been an old chestnut of many years.
Do you think you could answer that question? Sorry, I think I'm lagging here.
It's Deb. I would say that this is refurbishment and replacement. So the play would be very much akin to exactly what it is right now. So mostly soccer. It would be rectangular field sports for these 80s fields. The same type of play, same permits, all permits going through the city like it always is done. So that would not change. It would just be refurbishing them and getting them to a place where they should be better playable, safer, and the reality is these fields need to be replaced about every 10 years or so.
Right. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
And all those fields through the permitting process, but everything else that we've shown you is completely public facilities. It's open to the public. Anyone who comes.
Thank you, Ray. And thank you for being here. My internet is not doing so well, so please give me a wave if I'm breaking up or whatever. But thank you so much, Anne and Deborah and David, for coming and for presenting these projects. And if you're able to attend next month's meeting, we'll be revisiting it in old business, which is the section of the meeting just after this one. So you wouldn't need to attend for the beginning set part, but hope that you can join towards the end so that we can discuss any further questions that come up over the next one.
Great. Yeah, I'll be here for sure.
Great.
We'll be there. Yep.
Sure.
Awesome.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your time.
I guess it's time to say Happy New Year since we won't see people until the next year. Great. All right, so that was our only presentation for today, and we're moving on to old business. And Angel, I don't know if I can share my screen quickly, but I only have one screen, so let's see how this works. Here's our meeting minutes. So we had talked about, can everyone see my screen? I can't see you. Okay, great, thank you. So we have been discussing sort of letter of support guidelines. And I think we have a really great example here of Randall's Island Park Alliance coming many, many months ahead of when they need a letter of support, which is not usually the process. So we've discussed, we've had this Google Doc running for I think a month now, so or maybe two. But I just wanted to run through it with you all and get any further comments, ideas, next steps. So we talked about sort of what happens before the letter of support process begins, what is needed, when and why, and then the timeline. So breaking down, you know, if you need a letter of support by this date, then, you know, this is a process that needs to happen. So it needs to come to committees. Maybe it needs to come to many committees. Maybe eventually it'll go to full board. We'll all vote on it. And then at that time, you know, the letter of support can be issued. So does the requirement of the letter of support fit within our process? And then resources for each committee. So we all know about EcoDev's local hiring guidelines. So we can talk about that more at the executive level, but I think we are focusing on this section, which is our specific committee letter of support requirements. And then there's some other notes about tracking and accountability. There's been some questions about the PDC process, for example. I still need to look into what that process actually is. So I know there are a number of different processes. So I think we can start to, you know, lay out any additional sort of outlines that we might need to understand and be able to, you know, respond to before, you know, I guess PDC only requires a letter that projects were presented, not that they were supported. So does that process need to change? How can it change? Do we want to explore site visits? And as Elsie has been doing and others for other committees, tracking accountability as old business. I know there's a ton of things that we can track. So I know that can get a bit lengthy, or maybe we can pick one slow month where we go through everything together. And then the final idea, this is kind of the same as the others, but list of projects being considered. I think that's really important. Connie Lee had mentioned last week about the Community Parks Initiative. So I'm just gonna add that here. Which we need. I'm actually, if anyone from Parks is on the call right now, it would be great to understand which parks are in the Community Parks Initiative within our community, whether you can speak to that now or if you can send that over to us in an email. David, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
David.
I'm here. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I think Weldon, James Weldon is the next one on the list. Don't quote me on that. I'll double check on that, but I believe that is the next one for next year.
Okay. Yeah, it would be, I know, so this is like, you know, we're really looking for a little bit more transparency in general, not just from parks, but from all the city agencies. So it would be great if you could just send us an email with all of the known parks, and even if they're years from now, it would be great to know what's planned for the future in our neighborhood so that we can start to, you know, go visit those sites and get our own, you know, personal experiences, community experiences, so that when these come up, that we're prepared to talk about them with you, for example.
Okay, I mentioned it at the last meeting. My papers was all over the place.
That's okay.
I believe there was for $420 million going into the initiative, and that was one of the locations. I would definitely collect more information for you and get back to you on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so
Sure.
while we'll get that information via email, and we'll focus on this highlighted area right now. But so in terms of requirements for our committee and what we need to provide a letter of support for any request, these are the items that we've established. So establishing a timeline, present on month 1, vote on month 2, as Malik has already pointed out to us. The possibility of the incorporation of resiliency aspects. We all know that's a big issue in our neighborhood. Local hiring, which is not really our committee, but it's on our list because things always require hiring. Community engagement process at selection and concept phases. So having organizations come prepared to talk about what engagement efforts they've done and plan to do. Itemized budget so that we have a understanding of costs. So what is the agency or organization receiving from the city or other agencies? And we can see from the presentation today, agencies, that there's a lot of partnerships going on. So it'd be great to understand every agency or body that's touching whatever it is that we're supporting, what role that they have. Project schedule and timeline and plan CB engagement moving forward. So if they have a long-term project and we're in concept now, when do they plan to come present to us again? At which phases? How many times? And then, we already talked about this. So some of this is a little bit redundant, but it's just a collection of ideas. So does anyone have any thoughts on any additional points? Go ahead, Debbie.
And I have to apologize that I did not comment on this, but one thing that comes to my mind, and just for us as an internal thing, is would it make sense for us to check in with our elected officials on in terms of what their position is on whatever's being presented, so that we can kind of just be on the same page, so that we don't get any surprises. Like, let's say we say no and then they go, kind of like when your mother says no and then you go to your dad, type of thing.
Exactly.
So I think that if we have some type of internal control to address that, then we can communicate that to the person that's making the request, so that we communicate that we know what the position is of our elected official.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much.
And
Any
then the
other
other thing,
thoughts?
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
one other thing that comes to mind is maybe, like, what is their plan maybe to come back to us, to give us an update? Like, do they have a plan for, how to give us updates? Because, we don't want to go constantly chasing after people, so that maybe they commit to a process of coming back.
Yes. Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Any other thoughts? I think in specific, that incorporation of any aspects like resiliency, I know that's a big bucket, but I think like maintenance of street trees is a big one, and like any other like maintenance sort of care of the street and the environment sort of elements. Go ahead, Malik. You're on mute.
Yes. So just to follow up with Debbie, what about I know you're saying the follow-up process, but is it a year after the project is done? Or like what timetable can we give just to put, number, concrete, something on it, to after the project or like right before the project, some type of update, like what concrete, and I'm not saying that's just to Debbie, I'm saying what as a committee we could agree upon or what we think.
I think that's exactly the point. The point is that, they have to come back within, 2 times before the project is finished or something like that, um, so that we don't get any surprises, because,
Oh, okay, so during the project,
yeah, like, during the
okay,
project and then
and
come
then
back
after.
and after, so that they know that at least that they will be responsible for that, and that it's an expectation.
Right, and I think it'll have to play into like the scale of projects. So,
Correct.
if a project is really small, maybe they only come once, but I think that's a little bit harder to dictate across all projects, but maybe we can have like a sliding scale or something. Angel, I want to get your thoughts on this.
No, agreeing with that. I think that in terms of the projects, the challenge for them as well as for us is having these thoughts front of mind, and it's very challenging to always have thoughts front of mind. Like there's always another project, there's always another topic that's being thrust before the committee and being considered by the committee. So it's hard to keep track of the things you should be keeping track of. I would suggest, I don't know that it has to be on this list or maybe a sister document to this, a document that just has as simple as the current live projects, right? So, like you supported a particular project at the conceptual phase, then it's just being held there until completion. And then you have it as a ready reference for, looking back on that document, like what is our old business? Who do we have to call? When was the last time we heard about this? So that it's always just, right in your face and you're seeing it regularly. So if you're, let's say, for example, assigning members of the committee to assist with that follow-up on certain projects, right? Like if you end up with a list of 15 projects, one person can't be responsible for all that, or shouldn't be. Like you have a lot of people on the committee, then you assign 2 or 3 projects per person or whatever, however you want to divvy that up. But then they can be checking in. They can say, well, I reached out to the parks about this thing that we heard about 3 months ago and so forth. They've gotten the funding, they anticipate the funding, they applied for a grant, whatever the case may be. That would be my suggestion.
Excellent suggestion.
I'm sorry. I'm
Go
jumping
ahead,
over
Debbie.
Dave. No, I'm jumping
And
over
we'll go to
David.
David. Sorry, David. All right, David.
No problem. I mean, I think Angel is right, but I think on the other level, when we said how big or small projects are, sometimes big projects go smoothly. I think we have to look at what are some of the concerns and issues, and are they really, if they've come before us, right, and we've given feedback, like what's the follow up with those concerns or issues? One thing I kind of like today, and maybe they're hearing us, was they made sure they focused and talked about a bathroom, right? Because that's been a big issue for us when we come. And I think those, we have to take it a case by case basis, but there should be a standard by which we review what's been done. And then is there follow-up that's needed, right? I mean, real follow-up. Because you know what, a lot of times these places don't want to have to come back after they got approval.
Right.
Right. So like today, we don't really need it now, but we'll take it. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like Malik said, let's take a month, process it ourselves. We may have questions. If they don't come, we'll send them the questions. That will only hold up longer us giving support, right? I think too often we give support, we don't, well, there's no requirements for a lot of the stuff we ask for. So it's whether they do it out of their own will. And I think we're getting better prepared to address those concerns through these tools that we're developing. So let's keep developing them and use them and redevelop them and change them as we go on. This is just an extension of the presentation form. Before they said they want to come, we think we know what they come, and then they ask us for this. Let's just get all the information down we want and take it. And I think Angel's right. We have to assign it to people, but then people have to be willing to do the work. And that's not always been what members follow up on. And no 1 or 2 people can do it all on a committee when we're talking about this level of follow-up. And it wouldn't be fair to expect the board staff to do it as well.
Right.
And I think we've gotten a little spoiled lately with some of all the work that some of the board staff has been doing for us. So
Exactly. Thank you, David. Russell?
I would think should have think about this in separate categories as well. There are some folk that some projects come to the board just for information sharing
Right.
and asking for nothing, but other than giving us the courtesy of saying what's being proposed and planned. So we would have to think about those types of processes that would be needed, just a monitoring or updates that we would require to get a level, to get that, letter of support. There are others that would require a clear understanding of how that project would benefit the community board while they're coming, and then have a monitoring follow-up at the process. There are others that come in that need our, not only the support of the project, but some types of approval of things that they want to do to get the approval, whether it's environmental impacts or anything of those nature. And then where we have those business ventures that are coming in to the community just to make money, we got to have a clear understanding on what are the concrete benefits. That's more so like it could even be, if it's legal, Angel, contractual. That you're making a deal with the community board to put your project there that's revenue generating, even though you are licensed or contracted by the city, it has to be some type of, if or legal. How do we subcontract that to make sure that when we promise we give up what we give, that we get what we get on the return when we talk about the projects that really happen on those commercial properties on Randall's Island? Those are my initial thoughts.
Thank you so much, Russell. Debbie?
I was just wondering, would it make sense that once we have all this stuff, that at the last meeting in June, that we kind of compile all of this into one report, so that people can understand what has happened, what has been the work of the committee since September, and then say, these are all the projects, this is where they're at, so that people can get a snapshot of the work that the committee has been doing, and that they are also educated about projects themselves, so that they can kind of see the progression of process. Because it'll be nice to kind of have all in hand, like, another member that's not a member of the committee can say, oh, yeah, that's this project that does that, and they're, at this level or something like that.
Yeah, I remember Carly had, I think it was when we said our what was it, the biggest achievements or something. Angel, maybe you can help me out here.
Yeah, that's in the, yeah.
Goals and accomplishments.
Right.
Goals and
right,
accomplishments.
Right.
Thank you.
But I think this is more project specific, where you can kind of just, list the projects so that people can say, if somebody asks them, hey, what's going on with people, like 107th Street, they can say, oh, by the way.
So Jessica, what I'm thinking too is there some, while we're creating this kind of tool, sometimes we already have some tools that can be used in other capacities. So the tool that we use to track the budget priorities and district needs, is there a way that we can adapt that? Not so intense, but as the follow, because maybe the same thing we track when we have a district need and that listed. A lot of the projects that we work on within the committee sometimes overlap and sometimes don't. But maybe for the ones that don't, we use a similar tracking to say where we are and And at what times at points did we get updates or follow-ups? You know, sent questions to parks, waiting for response, still haven't gotten response. You know, I don't know. Sometimes we don't have to reinvent the whole wheel, right? It's adapting some stuff. So could the tracker be used for some of the stuff we're talking about in this way as the follow-up? Because, you know, I mean, we do have minutes and we do have these things. So to have people write summaries when we do this in one capacity and then do it again, you know, like the goals and you know, when we work on them, the goals and achievements, right? That's a review of the year, but also what are we focusing on this year? We need to look at this track and say, hey, next month, somebody's got to follow up on parks or what's happening. And just for instance, I thought it was really great to ask, which of the parks that you're talking about fixing up?
Yeah.
You know, is Johnson the next one? Should that be the next one as a priority in our community? I don't know. They fixed up a lot of Johnson a few years ago when they redid the community center. So, you know, and I'll just say this, they did a whole bunch of things up in the Bronx and they were going to fix up a park and they showed renderings of the park. We're not doing the whole completion again, just doing the water part of the park, but the renderings show the park before they move some things out of the park. So they showed old renderings. There was nothing done new. And if we got this extra money, why are we cutting back on what we're doing? You know, so I'm sure what affects parks in the Bronx also affects parks in Manhattan, right? Because it's all parks.
Yeah.
The same woman that presented in the Bronx is the same one, not today, but at other parts from EDC presented about this change as well. So, you know, I think we all have to do more follow-up, and it has to be a commitment of members on the board to take this as action items, you know, to do something about it.
Yeah.
And again, it can't be 3 of us, 4 of us.
Right. Yeah, I think that's obviously a necessary piece. So maybe when we create this document with all of our projects and actions that we've taken over the year, we can start to assign different people to follow up on them. Russell? Your hand's up, Russell. I'm not sure if it's an old hand.
So a new hand.
New hand.
I want to piggyback on what Debbie was saying, and then what David added to it. Perhaps we should have something with stages of to manage it. No matter how the board changes, that we have an introductory on how they begin it to get into the process, to get a letter of support or whatever, and how we manage that by every project being in a stage. And at that level of this stage of that project, what's required at that stage from the board, from them, and the give and take. Something that we can manage over time. So we can figure out how many stages will be in a complete process, what project is in that stage, what are requirements in that stage. It can be also added to some type of incorporated timeline. So we'll know from start to finish where they are. They could be working independently. Each project is working independently based on the stages. Some projects may not have to go through, let's just say if it's 5 stages to completion, may not need 5 stages, may need 2, 3. Just a suggestion, just for management long-term, something that can be documented. And once we do this, every project that comes to the board, to this committee, we'll know where they are. And every committee have the same type of similar thing. So never lose focus.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And I think most projects tend to go in a, you know, they have like a pre-concept phase where nothing's really real yet. And then it gets into the design phases. And we've seen from the future Richard Toussaint Park that, you know, they've presented at schematic design and they were planning to come back and design development. So there's a number of different design phases and a lot happens within those design phases and things change within the project. So, you know, what was presented at concept is probably different than what's at schematic and what's actually being constructed. That's a great point. Michelle?
And do we approve and support, I'm sorry, do we approve and support those changes?
Right.
Right? We might have given, our approval based on something that's now not happening,
Thank you. Michelle?
I wanted to add to what Russell was saying. I really like the whole stage, the stage of different, how the concept of the different stages could be used as a way of formatting the completed form, where you have it, okay, at this overview stage, yes, we enjoy this, but we're not going to give you a letter of support at the overview stage. When you get to phase 1, where we actually see something and the concepts are more grounded. And I like that, so that many people have those ideas already in mind, as you were just saying. And so that it would be easy for them to understand what we are requiring at the different stages, and then to interweave what we've written here into those stages as the requirements. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, because why would we issue a letter of support pre-concept if they never need another letter of support? Or I'm sure the requirements are different for different projects, but they might need a letter of support to get started. They might need a letter of support to get funding. So yeah, how does that carry through? And is there a world in which letters of support are issued finally once the final project is designed? I don't know.
So not, in other words, not a full letter of support at the beginning. The full letter of support would be when we so desire. They have met all of the different requirements at each stage.
Okay, thank you.
Russell, for that idea.
Malik, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, but I was trying to raise my hand and be
That's okay.
polite. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry about it.
I don't think, just to follow up on what you just said, I don't think that it would be at each stage of the process we're waiting for. I think it's whatever our guidelines are, and then we'll follow up with a letter of support. But I don't think that we should make them, in my opinion, I don't think that we should make them wait beyond that to see the end result, because at that point they don't need it. If you understand what I'm saying.
I think so. Yeah, so I think we'll have to discuss this more. But I think all of the comments that we've made are really helpful. And yeah, every project is different. So I think it would be great to understand, maybe we can look back at some of our previous letters of support and when they were issued. I think we just, what David said about not putting additional work on the board staff is the goal. So whatever we need to do, we need to work together as a committee, and we can start to take rough passes at these things, and then we can review them with the board staff. And I think tools are very helpful like this, but when we have a lot of different tools that we've created and they're not all that helpful, it can be even more of a challenge. So how to not create additional work, but activate the committee and follow through with things that we've done together is the goal. So. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? I think there are hands up in the participants, but I can't see them. I'm gonna stop.
No hands are up.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right, well, I'll stop sharing my screen, and I guess Angel, just your thoughts on moving forward on this. I guess the next steps would be to try to take the district needs coordination, maybe adapt that to put our projects on similar to land use, how we've done the old business, so that we can start to lay out what we've done this year, and we can include other items that, you know, maybe are from before this year that we still need to follow up on. I know I have a little list going myself, but
Sure.
yeah, what do you think next steps?
I like, let's set up some time to, you know, without budgeting people further as we're brainstorming on ideas on how to do this best. But let's set up some time and try to get this stuff on paper and kind of sketch it all out and see how we could work process wise. Because, you know, we can brainstorm a whole bunch of ideas and we'll end up like all agreeing to like this humongous document that is then impossible to maintain. But yeah, let's find some time. You and I can kind of come up with something to present back to the committee. Let's say next month.
Great.
I have a couple of ideas that, you know, I'd like to run by you and see if you think it would work for the committee.
Great. Well, thank
Tracking
you for
wise and
your
stuff. Yeah.
preemptive help.
Sure, no problem.
All right.
Angel, you gotta run it by me too now. Like, come on, like.
But nowhere in the charter does it say that, bro.
That's terrible, Angel.
All right. If you could reshare the presentation. I think the second thing on the list was the trash collection collaboration with Manhattan Borough President's Office. We had an email chain going, and Isabel was voicing support for trash cans and additional trash service. I had responded to her, and it didn't seem like there was any clear action, but I did see that new trash cans were, we got an email, Angel, I'm sorry, I don't have it up in front of me, but new trash cans are being implemented in a certain area and in our neighborhood, but I think we just need to do a little bit of follow-up to see what we can do moving forward with the Borough President's Office.
Sure, I'll have to check on that. I'm not as up to speed on this committee stuff.
That's okay.
But I can check and report back.
Yeah, I think I dropped the ball on this one, so I'm sorry for.
I blame Malik.
Okay, and then also for old business, I just added the community parks initiative, so that's on the list, and we're following up on that. And then new business, and Malik can speak to this. We have been talking. Malik has been talking with parks at CB10 about the funding for the East River Esplanade, and I think that was more on the park, the future Richard Toussaint Park, but that had us thinking about a potential joint resolution between maybe the three community boards, Community Board 8, 10, and 11, about transparency on the East River Esplanade funding. So I know we've had questions from Friends of the East River Esplanade and others about when is that work taking place, how much is being allocated to what sections, what is the work being done. We really don't have any like formal information on that outside of you know, a few specific parts. So of the $287 million, what's going on and what is the engagement process of the community board, and in the design process. So Malik, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, you just took my shine. You just said it all, you know. But basically someone reached out to me, Community Board 10, and they wanted, I mean, basically what we want. And Jessica added that we it needed to be the three of us that's working together on trying to make sure that we hold the city accountable for the whole project, not just part of the partial. So that's pretty much what it was. Just to follow up, I have to reach back out to him, and I will do so, and I will give a better update next week, next meeting in the new year.
Thank you so much, Malik, and thank you for bringing this forward, because I think it's really an excellent idea and it's something we've been talking about but haven't put any action behind. So we will connect with the other two community boards, and Carly's suggestion was, as I mentioned earlier in the meeting, to Civitas that that we hope to use the East River Waterfront Coalition document. You know, I think it outlined really well some of the needs. So I think it would be a quick readaptation of that letter with some of our additional thoughts. So Malik and I will take a stab at setting that document up for us to review next month. Any thoughts or questions on that? Ideas? Okay.
This is Angel. I was just going to suggest we have new electeds coming on. I would encourage this committee and the other committees to prepare to start engaging the new electeds as soon as they take office, if not earlier. So we're going to have a new council member that touches on the East River Esplanade, a new council member that covers Central Harlem and East Harlem, as well as we have a new state senator that covers Central Harlem and East Harlem. So I would encourage you to reach out to them on matters pertaining to this committee.
Excellent. Michelle?
Are you asking that we reach out to them individually or as a committee member or as a group?
As a committee.
Okay. So we'd be writing letters to them, like we'd form a letter together and send it to them saying, you know, thank you and all that sort of stuff?
I would leave that up to you all as to how you want to communicate. It could be a call, it could be an email, it could be a letter. And then what you want to communicate is, you know, again, you know, I don't want to assume what you want to communicate, but okay. My suggestion is connecting on, like, for example, projects that the committee has been working on really diligently for X amount of time, and then, you know, anticipating for a while, perhaps a new elected official isn't quite up to speed on that, is, you know, getting them up to speed, letting them know what our priorities are, where we are, what our concerns are, what our hopes and dreams are, that kind of
thing. Okay.
Yeah, Michelle, I think that's a great idea. That I think a letter could be really great, and then, you know, something that we could just send out individually to every new elected official, and sort of summarizing what our committee is working on, like Angel saying, and our concerns for the city, for the community in terms of parks. I know we have many, and I'm sure we can pull language from the statement of district needs. But just to bring that to their attention, I think that's a fabulous idea.
I think we should try and do something, because I like how we had the letter circulating, and it just, I think it prompted us to really be able to brainstorm tonight, actually. So even though some people might not have said anything during that, we still had it in our head. We're thinking of ideas, Yeah. And so if we are able to just brainstorm halfway between this month and next month so that we have something formed at just before they start, I think that would be great.
Yeah, great. And Angel, I'm not smart with politics, so can you tell me when they kick in, the new elected officials?
January 1st. I'm not sure the exact date that they are officially inaugurated at council. It might be like a week later or a couple of days later.
Yeah.
But it's in that ballpark, right? Second week? Thanks, Deb.
I think it's the second week in January. Either way, just hit them January.
Whatever Debbie says, I agree.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll put together another Google document, like the letter of support document, so that I'll just copy and paste, you know, what I personally think is relevant from other documents that we've issued, and we can add our thoughts, and then similarly, as we have done today, look at it together, and we can formalize that in January. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
Great. All right. I think that's it. Any other new or old business from the committee? Michelle, you got your hand up. Old hand.
Old hand.
Old hand. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And you know, I really appreciate everyone's input today. I think it was a great meeting, and looking forward to activating everyone moving forward. So thank you for all your time, and I don't see you, well, I'll see you at full board, but yeah, happy holidays and everything.
Well, bring your ugly sweaters, you
Yes,
know.
this weekend.
Yes, this weekend, bring your ugly sweaters. First, second, and third place. It's gonna be interesting.
Didn't you win last year, Debbie?
No, I don't compete. I organize. I don't compete.
All right. This meeting, there's a script for this. Something about adjournment. Oh, we have to take roll one more time.
So I'll just call it real quick. If you're present, please say present. Diane Collier, Jessica Elliott,
Present.
Debbie Giordano,
Present.
Ivy Hume is excused. Alonzo Johnson,
Here.
Connie Lee, Malik McCullough,
Here.
Shirley Pena, Debbie Quinones,
Present.
Natasha Rodriguez, Russell Schuler,
Present.
Michelle Wiltshire Clement,
Present.
Jordan Wright.
All right. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8:33. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Safe holidays,
Good night.
everyone.
Holidays.